Hey everyone, welcome back to the Essentials channel. So today we are doing a little bit more special. In a way, we are anticipating the launch of Penrith and my preliminary thoughts on it. Of course, eventually when we get more information, we will definitely be doing a more in-depth review. But of course, based on whatever sentiments as well as on the ground that I can churn and do research on, I'm actually presenting it here today through this video. So for Penrith today, will it be PEN-TASTIC or will it just drift away? Alright, so first of all, based on the preliminary info that we have here, based on Penrith itself, this is actually a development by Hong Leong Holdings, Guko Land and Intrepid Investments. The development actually consists of two 40-story towers with 462 units. The site area is approximately 102,000 square feet with a plot ratio of 4.2, and that explains why we can go up to the 40 stories. You may think that actually this one over towers a lot of the developments there, but in fact a lot of the HDBs there, story height of 30-something stories to even 40 stories as well, which we will go in depth later. And the significant feature of Penrith is actually the first GFA harmonized project in Queenstown. This means that also, of course, the layouts are more effective planned out. They are here to cater to the new generations that are considering to make Penrith their home while keeping the quantum low. The unit mix for Penrith includes 2-bedroom units, 614 square feet to 678 square feet, 3-bedrooms unit, 786 square feet to 1066 square feet, 4-bedroom premium units at 1173 square feet to 1281 square feet. Alright, so one thing to note here, there isn't any 1-bedrooms that will be coming out in Penrith, unlike the previous predecessors that are in Queenstown, where we see Commonwealth Towers, Stirling and even Queen's Peak and Margaret Ville having a lot of 1-bedrooms to cater to this township. In fact, because of this new GFA harmonized policies as well as the average sizing of units increment, that's why we don't really see much 1-bedrooms in today's new launch. Developers rather maximize the quota as well as ensure that livability is kept in check. They are rolling out 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom and 4-bedrooms instead. So in a way, we can also use this as an advantage, like what I always mentioned before. Without 1-bedrooms in the development, it actually helps to ensure that there is no dilution in terms of prices, because after all, you are still in the Queenstown area where the focus is heavily dependent on homestay demand. People will generally go for the 3 and 4 bedrooms per se, and of course the demand for 1-bedrooms will be quite muted in that sense. And in future, for the resale market, in a way, because of the lack of demand, sellers of these 1-bedroom need to sell at a lower PSF. And you know how consumers always think. Whenever they see the transaction, they see the 1-bedroom PSF being lower, they will say, by right, your 1-bedroom unit, smaller size, should be higher PSF. But since it's a lower PSF now, they peg and take reference of these PSF and peg it towards the 3 and 4 bedrooms, thus bringing the prices down. We are not going to see any of that happening in Penrith, which is a good sign. And of course, this time around, we have the project catering to its designated demand, which is the homestay demand. Furthermore, to add, we would think that the 1173 4-bedroom compact units will be much anticipated, because I think just nice it meets the quantum void happening in this area. And the project is also expected to include an early childhood development center on site, which adds to the convenience for parents. So first of all, we will then talk about the master plan and the transformation that is happening within the Margaret area as well as the Queenstown area. This is going to be something exciting. In fact, it is one of our oldest township in Singapore, starting from the 1950s. And with that in mind, people always think, hey, is there a transformation or rejuvenation in this area? Or Penrith is actually going to be the last plot of land here that may cause a little bit of stagnation in prices. Alright, so now let's head into the master plan surrounding the Queenstown area. First of all, Queenstown is Singapore's first satellite town developed in 1950s. It's a mature estate with a rich history and established infrastructure. It is currently undergoing significant rejuvenation under the Remaking Our Heartland program, which aims to enhance its livability, sustainability, and overall appeal. Key aspects of the master plan and rejuvenation around Penrith include designation as Singapore's first health district. Queenstown is pioneering an integrated approach to health and wellness, with plans for improved access to preventive health services, wellness, trails, jogging loops, on-site health screenings, and community health talks to foster healthy aging. New public housing developments will also incorporate dementia-friendly features. Instead of making it like a healthcare city, just like how Novena was, Queenstown is transforming into something that is more of preventive rather than just providing a medical healthcare service. It is also to cater to the growing aging population in Queenstown, because if you actually realize in Queenstown area, there are many clusters of MOP HDBs, which they are very established and very deep-rooted in this area. So in order to cater to the aging population and for other areas outside of Queenstown to actually converge in, this will be the first health centre in a way that the government is focusing on as well as experimenting on. The third pointer that the master plan is also focusing on for the Queenstown area is the enhanced connectivity with the green spaces. The URA master plan for Margaret Drive aims to develop a vibrant community focusing on healthy, sustainable living. This includes new parks, therapeutic gardens, exercise trails with fitness stations, and community garden. The expanded Alexandria Queensway Park Connector will offer enhanced connectivity for hikers, cyclists, and runners to destinations like Hot Park and the future Round Island. There will also be social nodes, outdoor rest points with seating and play areas and exercise stations along well-used routes. So in terms of Margaret Drive itself, the specifics, the Penrith site along the Margaret Drive will become a cul-de-sac, which means significantly reducing the through traffic and noise, enhancing the living environment. The Queenstown Public Library, a conserved landmark on Margaret Drive, is set to undergo a major revamp in 2025, incorporating wellness and sustainability features while preserving its heritage. A new community museum is also being rebuilt at Block 30A Margaret Drive, opening in 2024 to preserve the collective memory and heritage of Queenstown. So in detail master plan and the changes in the plot ratio later, I will also be breaking it down when we deep dive into the Penrith land itself. You will see certain changes such as the cul-de-sac that I've just mentioned, as well as the rezoning of the various lands surrounding it from low plot ratios to higher plot ratios, and how it would actually affect Penrith. I'll be covering that later at the end of this segment to give a little quick final verdict on how and what you should be avoiding and going for in Penrith. Next in line, of course, in the master plan itself will be the Tanglin Hot Rejuvenation, where they will be undergoing through SIRS, which will be redeveloped into about 5,500 to over 6,000 new homes by 2030, including new HDB flats, shops, and community facilities. This rejuvenation will bring a new hawker centre and market, replacing former ones, and improve pedestrian and cycling paths. Some Tanglin Hot residents have also already been moved to new developments in Margaret Drive like Sky Oasis at Dawson and Sky Residences at Dawson. So of course a rejuvenation of this area's new township along the Tanglin Hot area, because I think we all know that there's a lot of old HDB mature estates, and this is also in line with the vision of what Mr. Lee Kuan Yew has envisioned for. That's why he made sure that all the lands for HDBs are all 99, exactly to facilitate lease renewal and the transformation of the city skyline, just exactly like what we are seeing today. Imagine all of these HDB flats which are already about 50 to 60 years old and they are not receiving the kind of maintenance and rejuvenation that they needed to have, but it's because of the 99 years leasehold. It facilitates lease renewal and land renewal, which also means a newer city skyline, and of course better, newer, more livable homes that are relevant to the current society. And this would also of course achieve the vision of Singaporeans first. Otherwise, imagine just like how our counterparts in Hong Kong itself, imagine all of them are all freehold lands and they couldn't renew all the leases and they couldn't renew the buildings and structures. That's why you will get the phenomenon and the scenario where we are seeing right now, where Hong Kong is a lot of old buildings, which affects the city skyline and the quality of living for the people. Imagine they were able to renew it based on government's terms. There will be a lot more changes to the city's infrastructure, which is what we are here seeing today. The foresight of our forefathers today are paying off truly, and Queenstown is exactly the one that we are going to be working on right now. Next of us is, I think, no stranger. By now you will have heard the new draft master plan 2025, which is the Greater One North area. There is actually a future transformation in the Greater One North and Dover area, which are expected to bring an estimated 6,000 new homes, supporting demand for Queenstown properties. The rail corridor through Queenstown will also be upgraded with new nodal spaces. So like what I always say, announcement, completion, infrastructure. So the rail corridor, the starting portion of the rail corridor, which starts from Bukit Panjang station itself, that portion of that rail corridor is already transformed. Don't forget, government used 2 lands to exchange to get back the entire rail corridor or railway line, because it actually belongs to Malaysia before that. They couldn't dig below, and obviously they cannot create anything around where the railway actually ran. So the Beauty World, the Hillview, as well as Bukit Panjang, all was where the rail corridor actually passed by. And look at all the developments that has been happening. Alright, and of course now it comes to the next portion, which is the rail corridor actually passing through Queenstown itself, and that is why we see the government focusing on the infrastructure phase here, where the Queenstown rail corridor portion or that Queenstown node is actually at right now. So now we move on to the analysis of the track record within the Queenstown area and the profitability of nearby condos, with a bit of highlighting of their layouts, site plan, so on and so forth, so that we can draw a comparison to the upcoming Penrith. So we see from here, we start off with Commonwealth Towers first. So in Queenstown itself, there's actually about 4 condos. We have Commonwealth Towers, Stirling Residences, Queen's Peak, as well as Margaret Ville. Right, so we look at Commonwealth Towers. Overall, it is a project that is sitting on a land size of about 130,000 square feet, which is pretty similar to what Penrith is like. Penrith is about 100,000 square feet of land. It is a 99-year starting from 2013, which TOP'd in 2017. Right, it has a plot ratio of 4.9. So in a way, it goes up to about 43 stories, and they could actually go a little bit higher if they ever wanted to. But of course, they are restricted by the GFA minimum size policy. But back then, their policy was based on 70 square meters rather than the current 80 square meters. So if we look at this development itself, overall, it has a very healthy track record, with the lowest sale within the last 2 years transacting at 1944 PSF to the highest sale of 2536 PSF. Likelihood is the 3 or 4 bedrooms with an average PSF of about 2200 PSF here. So overall, very good track record with Commonwealth Towers. If you look at the site plan itself, it is a very sizable land with good family communal activities catering to the homestay demand in this area. There is even a tennis court, there is a big pool with very nice function room. Overall, very livable. There is a very grand pickup point and a resting area or lounge area where cars can drive in, make its roundabout, and then head back out. There is a reception area that is filled with grandeur actually within Commonwealth Towers itself. So back then, actually, if you look at this building itself, it really marks a very iconic landmark within Queenstown area. And of course, if you see overall the structures within Queenstown itself, they go by the black-grey theme, very sophisticated and very modern kind of building and landmark that you see at Queenstown. So overall, this is their profitability. You can see the 3 bedrooms itself actually made a 922k within 8 years with an annualized of 5.25. Another 3 bedrooms making an average of 750 to about 800k. Of course, you got 4 bedrooms that made about 630k only, but on average, largely profitable. And as the market moves, they move together with it because they are pretty much quite a livable development to begin with. But if we deep dive into its layout itself, you will realize certain flaws that maybe that is why it's restricting its growth, and we don't see that kind of crazy growth within a shorter period of time, such as 4 years. This one, they took 8 years just to earn that 1 million. Why can't they do it a little bit faster? Because if you look at their 3 bedrooms with yard, they actually have this very long corridor space when you enter the main entrance, and then you have, of course, the usual designated dining and living room area with an extended balcony towards the master bath site itself. So you get a very odd shaped balcony that extends to the master bath wall. And then of course, it breaks out into the 3 bedrooms with the kitchen and utility and yard. Overall, very livable, suitable for families. That's why it still made its profit, but I guess quite a fair bit of the space is wasted in that long corridor, which could have been better utilized. So this is also based on personal experience where I went to see the 4 bedrooms for Commonwealth Towers. Here we actually have the layout. Coming in here, you are greeted with the foyer area. Then you got this turning in into the living room area where you're greeted with a long corridor before you actually reach the living room. When you reach the living room, you thought you'll be greeted with a wide landscape layout, but in actual fact, the landscape layout is actually quite small. So after fitting in the TV and sofa set, you don't really have space for the dining area. So overall, the living room seems quite congested because why? Back then, the policies weren't so strict on the balcony space. Remember, overall, the URA policies for the balcony space itself, it actually reduced from 15% to 10% or eventually 5% or something like that. But you can see from here in Commonwealth Towers for the 4 bedroom itself, the balcony size is as big as the living room itself. So with that in mind, that actually reduces the livability factors. I mean, by right, the 4 bedroom should be the one making the most money, but in the end, it loses out to the 3 bedroom. There is also a reason why it is so, because your balcony size itself is becoming too excessive, even bigger than the living room space itself, and that causes a little bit of detrimental micro factors to the livability. Next, of course, we move into the bedrooms. Quite standard. Every bedroom can fit a queen size bed. No complaints about that, but I think what really caused the underperformance of the 4 bedroom is the balcony size being the same size as the living room, and that itself, you can see from there, the 3 bedrooms are the main winners in terms of profitability. Based on the unit distribution of Commonwealth Towers, we have 341 units of 1 bedroom, 271 units of 2 bedroom, and then 195 units of 3 bedroom with only 38 units of 4 bedroom. So of course, mind you, for Commonwealth Towers itself, it was before the implementation of the policy. We have new requirements in 2018 which follows size restriction for residential developments outside the central area. Under the rule that was effective from 17 January 2019, the maximum number of units is the GFA divided by 85 square meters, which was previously 70 square meters. In addition, there are special areas such as Marine Parade, Joo Chiat, Telok Kurau, Balestier, Pasir Panjang, which is kept at a total GFA divided by 100 square meters to count the maximum number of units within the project itself. So you see, with this kind of restriction in place in 2018 and 2019 and subsequently in 2022, it ensures the improvement in better unit distribution. Otherwise, we will be seeing a lot of developments coming out with one bedrooms just for developers to be focusing on their own profitability rather than the livability of our Singaporeans. So that is also the reason why just now we broke down the Penrith's unit distribution for you, because based on Commonwealth Towers itself, you can see how Penrith will actually rival and also beat its competition within Commonwealth Towers itself. Now we move on to another project within the Queenstown area. So we have Queen's Peak, which is of course the second oldest development in the area, that whole cluster there. Right, it is a 99 years from 2015, sitting on a land size of 113,000 square feet of land, which is pretty similar to what Penrith is having right now. It's on a plot ratio of 4.9, which means you can also go up to 40 plus stories or even 50 stories as long as their GFA allows them to do so. Total number of units is 736 units. This itself has direct access to Queenstown MRT with a sheltered walkway all the way into the station itself. Site plan is as what it is, 2 blocks interjoining together with the pool right behind. Again, do bear in mind that this one hasn't gone through the updated URA policies of what we have in terms of the size restrictions, the unit distribution, and of course the site plan policies that improve so that it promotes further family, communal activities and livability. So we can see here, just based on the site plan itself, you can see how densely populated this whole development is, and that is what the government has been trying to improve, the unit distribution and the density to improve livability. So with that in mind, we can actually see the unit distribution. 1 bedrooms, we have 171 units. 1 plus 1 bedroom, we have 95 units. 2 bedroom, we have 190 units. 3 bedroom, 228 units. And the 4 bedrooms, only 32 units. 5 bedroom, 16 units. 5 bedroom penthouse, 4 units. Basically, 4 bedrooms and 5 bedrooms add together, you only have about 52 units. 3 bedrooms, you got 228 units. Thank goodness there is still quite a good distribution. Close to 50% of it is actually allocated to homestay units, which is very, very fortunate. Unlike where we see from Commonwealth Towers where we have a 300 plus units of 1 bedroom, this one itself still kind of cater to the homestay demand that Queenstown actually entails. Alright, and if we look at the profitability itself, or if I just randomly pull out a 3 bedroom layout first, you will realize certain flaws within the development itself. Some units, such as Type C6, the 807 square feet, fortunately for the 3 bedroom, actually comes with an enclosable kitchen. But there are some units that only come with kitchenettes with the dining within the kitchen itself. That again, I'll show you the layout in the next slide. But you will realize one thing about these layouts is because of the curved structure that we have in Queen's Peak itself, your balcony becomes less functional because obviously there will be certain curved parts that you can't use it per se. Even if you put a zip track outside, the curved parts, your zip track can't be molded into those curved parts. Am I right? So the next thing is this, the issue with them is they have excessive AC ledges as well that eats into the unit size. This being at 807 square feet, you realize that the bedroom 2 cannot fit a queen size bed with 2 side tables, bedroom 3 as well, and then of course your master bedroom, they show a king bed with only 1 side table. That actually says a lot about the floor plan already. Next, we have another one which is a 3 bedroom, 1001 square feet. Now this is the issue. Coming in from your main entrance, always remember what I said during our selection essentials video, always have designated spaces for the right things. This is the problem. The dining is within the kitchen, and the most important part, you are a 3 bedroom. By right, family needs will be what? Enclosed kitchen, so they can do their cooking. But obviously now with an open kitchenette, you can't do so. Imagine you need to cook for a family of 4, 5 or 6. How much of the fumes will go into the bedrooms? How livable is that? Next thing is of course your intersecting of dining area with the kitchen area. So there's no designated space for dining in a way. Next, we move into the living room area, but you get excessive balcony. Either too wide, if not it's too narrow, if not it's that curved balcony space which you can't utilize at all. Functionality is low, livability is low. Next, we have of course the third bedroom. Because of the balcony eating into it, you can only fit a queen size bed with 1 side table. This is also a very clear red flag that the bedroom is definitely not 8 or 9 square meters. It will likely be a 7.8 square meters. Same for bedroom 2, and then of course you got a very odd shaped utility room which has a very irregular corner down there which we can't do really much with that. Finally, we hit the master bedroom, which unfortunately again we see a king bed or a queen bed with only 1 side table. That will also state how small the bedroom is again. So with that in mind, that's why you see the profitability is a bit muted because of layouts like that. For bedroom itself, this is how a layout would look like, a 1507 square feet unit, but again, you are given that very odd shaped, irregular shaped balcony. But fortunately, because of the sheer size itself, the livability and the functionality is still kept in check. But if you look at the bedroom sizes, like what I mentioned, a queen bed and a side table, 1 side table, that actually indicates how small the bedrooms are. So if we deep dive into the profitability itself, you will see healthy profits as well, but they take about 8 years to earn $1 million. But that itself is a 5-bedroom. Like I say, sheer size trumps it all. The livability is kept in check because when you have space, everything works. It's livable. But if we deep dive into the 3 bedrooms itself, you will realize they average about 500 to 600k over a span of 8 years. What usual projects take to earn in 4 years, they need to take double the time. And you also need to see a disparity within the unit layout itself. Here we have actually something that we did a quick analysis on. For Queen's Peak itself, on average, their 3-bedroom make a profit of about 300 to 400k because of their kind of poor layout that entails poor livability. But actually, if you realize the same layout but with private lift actually ends up making double the amount. So you can see what the people actually want in this area. They want private lift. But otherwise, if we look at the profitability, they all average about 3 to 4% per annualized. And then of course, the 3 bedrooms max make about 400 to about 500k. That's their max already. It's also because of the area's track record and high demand. People learn to live with their open concept kitchenette. But otherwise, you can see the limitation of the kind of profitability it brings. So of course, layout itself here, Queen's Peak actually in my ranking ranks the worst in the entire whole Queenstown area because of this kind of features or attributes that they have. Comparing to Penrith itself, I have a feeling based on the unit distribution and the size they are allocating, because it's a Gukoland / Hong Leong property, I have a feeling we can actually use Springleaf's floor plan as a reference. And you see how well they did up the whole Springleaf layout. The 900 square feet or the 800 square feet 3-bedroom itself has a flexible space which you can convert into a study, maid's room, so on and so forth. They really outperformed themselves in terms of layout, and I really respect that. Next, we move on to the third project in Queenstown. We have Margaret Ville, which is along Margaret Drive itself, along the same road as where Penrith is going to be. It is kind of like the 3rd newest or 4th newest development there, together with Stirling. It TOP in 2021 with a 99 years starting from 2017 with a land size of 51,000 square feet only, about close to half the size of what we see in Penrith, as well as compared to Queen's Peak and Commonwealth Towers. Basically, they are the smallest development in the Queenstown area, with a total of 309 units with a plot ratio of 4.6. It was developed by MCL, one of your renowned developers in Singapore that provides quality finishing as well as very high quality materials. This is the site plan. You got the 1 and 2 bedrooms facing either side, and then of course the 4 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms on each corner of the block. 1 bedroom itself, we have 39 units, 1 plus study we have 39 units, 2 bedroom we have 78 units, 2 bedroom plus study we have 36 units, 3 bedroom 78 units, as well as 4 bedroom 39 units. Overall, quite an evenly distributed development. Here are some quick layouts that you see. For the 2 bedrooms, 700 square feet, you got your long corridor with your kitchen aisles on both sides, dining, living, the bedroom, as well as the master bedroom, standard traditional 2-bedroom layouts. This is your 3-bedroom layout. You have a 969 square feet, 915 square feet. 969 square feet, as you enter the main entrance, you're greeted by dry kitchen, wet kitchen, a living and dining side by side, and then of course you break out into the bedrooms. You will realize that the floor plan actually depicts one thing: there is no side tables. Basically, just by fitting in the queen bed, that's it, which is actually the main problem of Margaret Ville. Next thing, of course, you have 4 bedrooms itself, 1184 square feet. Same thing, you enter, you are greeted by this long corridor which has the dry kitchen area and the wet kitchen area, followed by the utility. Meets the needs of every family. You got your landscape layout, but I was there just a few weeks ago and I realized that the living room is actually quite small. You don't really get that wide frontage that a landscape layout is supposed to give. And of course, because quite a fair bit of the space is taken into the balcony. Because it belongs to a newer development, the URA policies of having a minimum balcony size as well as a 1.5 meter width, it's all already in effect. But of course, if you look at the bedrooms itself, each bedroom is only a queen bed, can't even put side tables. Actually shows how small the bedroom is again. And actually, Margaret Ville itself, I personally own a 1-bedroom unit there before for forced savings purposes. The building design is beautiful, the material is beautiful, the quality is good, it's just the bedroom sizes is the main issue. Likelihood, because this hasn't gone through the GFA harmonization, so the way they measure is not from the middle of the wall to another side middle of the wall. That itself, I think this was exactly what GFA harmonization was for. They can promise COH or URA a certain sizing, but because of the way they construct it, the thickness of the walls also play a part in affecting the unit's livable size. if you all understand what I mean. Because if you look at Margaret Ville itself, look at the walls and the thickness of the walls. Some walls can be very thick, and all these are actually into your floor plan spaces, and that may explain why. If you see, based on the 1184 square feet, why can't the 4-bedroom actually fit in a queen size bed? We've got the likes of Alta, we've got the likes of Lentor Mansion. All their 4 bedrooms are also about 1184 square feet, but why their 4th bedroom can fit in a queen size bed? Thank goodness for GFA harmonization. Exactly that is what the URA policy is targeting. Having a universal measurement of size. Not only that, it is also to make sure developers develop the units in certain way to ensure the quantum is kept low for a livable unit. If we look at the profitability, it's still quite healthy, but generally you see not so healthy numbers. The 4th bedroom only makes about 563k, largely I would think because of the limitation of the bedroom sizes. By right, 4 bedrooms, all 4 bedrooms should be able to fit queen, but there's 1 bedroom that actually missed the part. Next thing, 3 bedrooms generally make about 450k over a span of 4 years to 5 years. Despite certain flaws in here, the quality as well as the livability still makes it up for it. And then of course, on average, you see the 2 bedrooms making about 180k to 250k, which is quite normal. Next, we move on to the final development within the Queenstown area. This one is the blockbuster development called Stirling Residences. It is the newest one, which is 99 years from 2017, which TOP in the year 2022. Comes with a plot ratio of 4.2 with a 1,259 units. Distribution wise, you can see we are sitting on a big plot of land, 3 main blocks with a tennis court, with a swimming pool, with lush greenery throughout the landscaping. Very livable, very sizable, very ideal for families. And if we look at the unit distribution, 1 bedrooms is 112 unit, 1 bedroom plus study, 115, 2 bedrooms, 536 units. Half of the development is already in 1 and 2 bedrooms. 2 bedroom plus study, 151 units, 3 bedroom, 263 units, 4 bedroom, 76 units, 4 bedroom plus penthouse, 6 units. Overall, I must say, based on my experience, they have the best layouts. Their 2 bedroom comes with enclosable kitchens. Their 3 bedroom layout, nothing out of the blue, nothing surprising. It is 3 bedrooms, you can fit queen size bed, it comes with study area. Your living rooms are generally 2.8 to 3 meters. Very livable, very sizable. If you look at the 4th bedroom, it's very beautiful. 1346 square feet, get really a wide frontage that actually runs along with the balcony that really emphasizes and capitalizes on the advantage of the landscape layout. 3 bedrooms on the left with junior master on the right, ideal for multi-generation living. Comes with a store, utility room and utility toilet, dry kitchen, so on and so forth. So with that in mind, that's why you see even stronger profits within Stirling Residences. Just by looking at the chart itself, 4 bedrooms earn 1.2 million in 6 years. Wow. 4 bedrooms earn about another 1.042 mil. 3 transactions that cross the $1 million mark. On average, all 4 bedrooms earn 900 plus K. 3 bedrooms on average do about 600 to 800k depending on your floor level. And then of course the 2 bedrooms itself on average do about 350 to 400,000. Now that is very, very, very healthy numbers. Anyway, nothing to complain about for Stirling Residence. It is indeed quite a livable project. There is a back gate to and walking distance to the MRT station, and then of course very big landscaping. Like what I said, livability is the main focus here that draws in the natural demand. You think of Queenstown, you think of Stirling Residences. It's there and it's like that. So we have now run through the track record of the entire Queenstown area. We can see overall we have a very healthy track record despite certain disadvantages in the layouts. It also just depicts the very high natural demand within the area, supported by a lot of the HDB upgraders who have been very used to this area. In general, Dawson HDBs cross a 1.2 million mark to even 1.5 million mark. You have your Queenstown, all your various HDBs. So all these come equipped with a strong capital to begin with, and of course they are already spot with the location and accessibility and the convenience. Naturally, they will want something within the area to be able to move into. Of course, while the track records throughout the whole area is very strong, we see the strongest profitability in Stirling Residences itself, largely because of its strong livability factors such as big landscaping, ideal layouts with no detrimental micro attributes. Of course, as the prices pull away, definitely there will be some spillover to places like Queen's Peak, Commonwealth Towers, as well as Margaret Drive, despite its certain flaws within the layout, so on and so forth. Alright, so now we move on to analyzing the land of Penrith itself. With the limited knowledge as well as the information that we are getting from the ground, I can only do as much as I can for all my audiences and consumers out there. So here I have the live master plan that we always use when we are at the Masterplan URA website. So I've highlighted the Penrith land here. As you can see, it is situated right beside the Queenstown Primary School. It is in a way quite a small piece of land because it's only about 105,000 square feet of land, but it's a very regular shaped one, which is very good because in a way you can really trust Google Land and Hong Leong to design a very nicely, fully utilizable and efficient piece of land. So likelihood, if I were to predict this in future, in the next 1 month or so, we will be seeing probably the two blocks being in front of each other. Later on, we'll of course do a quick simulation and draw it for you with the facilities in the center to actually maximize the block-to-block distance, and probably in one of the corners there will be a tennis court. Alright, this is a plot ratio that can allow about 40 stories. Alright, but if we look at the surrounding, we have the Strathmore Avenue where we see the HDBs being at the same plot ratio of 4.2, and you know, in order to maximize land, HDBs will maximize it fully all the way in terms of height. So meaning to say you'll be probably, if your block is facing downwards towards the Alexandra Canal, this is where the park connector is as well, you'll probably be getting an iron curtain of HDBs in front, which are the Strathmore HDBs. So if you are buying the ones facing south towards the Queenstown MRT side, that also means that you go for 40 levels and up, you will always be blocked by the HDBs in front. Alright, next, of course, we will show you a live map using Google's map itself in the next few seconds or next few minutes. Of course, then if we look at towards the greenery side, where all the GCB embassies as well as the Botanic Gardens direction, which is up north based on this map that we see from here, naturally you will see a rezoning of several land sites behind. So right in front of us will be another education plot, which currently is the Rainbow Centre. Next, on the right side, you will see this one, which I've highlighted down here. It will be this thing called H. Right, what does H mean? If we look at the legend, it will be the Health and Medical Care Centre. So with that in mind, that also means one thing. Remember, this is the cul-de-sac that we were talking about at the start of the video, where this one will be blocked off and then a new road will be created to connect the Kay Siang Road, and a road diversion will be behind the Rainbow Centre instead. So with this in mind, this connects the road over there to form a different kind of connection. Basically, if you dive deeper into the Botanic Gardens changes as well as the Orchard Road transformational rejuvenational plans, actually you will realize that this is what the government wants to do, to connect seamlessly with one road all the way from Queenstown to Botanic Gardens followed by to Orchard. Remember, one of the Orchard plans is also to transform Orchard into a botanical city where there will be greenery. Basically, when you see from a bird's eye view, you will see a connection between the Botanic Gardens all the way through Orchard Road, that whole seamless landscaping and connectivity between all these roads. And obviously and naturally from here, you will see this happening starting from Queenstown. Alright, and if we zoom out from this whole thing itself, you will realize that this is the place where all the landed enclave would be. And if we look further up where I'm pointing here, this is exactly where Botanic Gardens is, and surrounding will be the Bukit Timah landed enclave. Basically, that's where all your GCBs are and all the ministers staying. Basically, all of these are all your landed properties. Why am I highlighting this to you? Because we see a rezoning change and the pushing in of boundaries. Last time there used to be a wider boundary between Queenstown as well as the GCB. Basically, because of security issues, embassies are all there. If you remember, you go for some high-rise development in Redhill, as you overlook the Botanic Garden site, you will see a lot of greenery and forested areas. Now, in fact, the boundaries are pushed closer with a rezoning of plot ratios, such as this land down here, which is a residential land of 2.1 plot ratio. It means you can build up to about a 26 stories development, and this is stated to be residential. Meaning to say, if you are buying Penrith today and if you are facing towards the greenery direction, you thought that you will be able to enjoy lush greenery throughout and enjoy the same kind of views that the Redhill condo developments have been enjoying for so far. Think again, because actually there will be a limitation of time that you'll be enjoying this kind of views, the lush greenery views. I'll be here trying to find a screenshot for you to show you the kind of views for here itself. And of course, if you look at the plot ratio of 1.4 here, that also means it will be able to build about a 10 to 15 stories building. Again, basically, if you buy something at Penrith below 20 something floors, you will be blocked in future by all these views. Now, if we pan towards the left, you will see a new change within the master plan. Remember this green land here? This is actually a park where there is a McDonald's, and there is this very nice heritage park within McDonald's itself. This is the drive-through that we have at the Queenstown area. It's not the Queenstown complex that side, but it's the other side towards the Holland side. And now it is being rezoned as a multiple residential developments with subjected to planning as of now. And of course, if you move towards the left a little bit more, at that junction between Commonwealth and Queensway, we see it changing to subjected to detailed planning. Again, it is a residential plot. Next, if we move further out from the two plots of 2.1 and 1.4, you will realize one more thing. As we go closer to the GCB enclave and landed enclave, all these sites are all converted into residential developments. Basically, they really push the boundaries much closer to the GCB enclave, breaking a lot of the traditional conservative mindsets as well as planning that Singapore used to guard very closely at one point of time. So now if we go into this, we can see how all the changes within Queenstown is happening. There is a rejuvenation coming up, and Penrith kind of marks the start, the iconic start to this change and transformation that is happening within Queenstown. So in a way, you get a renewed first movers opportunity within Queenstown by entering Penrith, and the GFA harmonization actually ensures the right layouts to be built to cater to future consumer needs, to keep the quantum low so that affordability remains in check while offering affordable homes. Likelihood all these plots of land may become HDB because based on my understanding of what the government's master plan is going for, it is to become an inclusive society. The emerges nature as well as HDB flats as well as private homes. Gone are the days where the entire area will be slated as an atas area. You can see Turf City having HDBs is as well coming in together in combination with private homes. This is a smart move as we head towards a more inclusive society because each township itself will have its own sustainable ecosystem and economic attributes and dynamics. Meaning to say, within an atas area, you also have atas HDB that can move up the societal ladder. These atas HDB will likely sell their HDBs for a much higher prices or higher quantum, but it also fuels the natural demand for those higher upmarket developments within upmarket spaces, creating natural demand due to societal progression and the space that was created. With that in mind, I think we have deep dive into the master plan quite a fair bit. We know the changes that is happening down here. How are you going to capitalize it? I leave it to you as a consumer. Do give me a call, 94569398 to cater to your scenario. So here, based on the Google Maps itself, I pulled out a street view of the land of what Penrith looks like. Alright, so this exactly, the cordon off area is exactly where Penrith is. If I zoom in here for you, this is exactly the Strathmore HDBs that I was talking about. In front, you have a lower plot ratio of 3 point something, and that is the white color HDBs that you see. Behind, that is where the Strathmore HDBs are, which is the same plot ratio as what Penrith is, and that's why you get your 40 stories HDB. Basically, you buy units facing this direction, you'll be forever blocked by this iron curtain that you see here. Definitely, when you buy Penrith, we are not going to be selling you about the views. Alright, so if we look at the left here, this is exactly where these two cars are, where the cul-de-sac will cut off, and you will get a future health center down here that promotes preventive healthcare services. Alright, it's more to cater to the surrounding growing population. It will be the first township that will be running this initiative. And then of course here we have the Rainbow Care, which is slated for education. No qualms about that. The plot ratio will be like this. But remember, just behind here at this part where I'm highlighting at, zoomed in on, 2.1 plot ratio, meaning to say they can grow 26 stories. With that in mind means here, this portion here that we are seeing in this clear sky, behind there will be a residential development that can go for 26 stories. And if you are Penrith, having a block facing in this direction, basically if you want something that has good views, you need to go 27 floors and above. With that in mind, then you can still get the clear view, the botanical gardens with the landed enclave, that kind of unblocked view. So if you're buying Penrith today, if you're going for the block and the units that's facing the Strathmore HDB side, kind of like go as low as possible, whatever your ballot number can get, mid floors and of course high floors depending on the pricing difference. If you're going to pay a huge premium for that, you may want to consider the block on this side that is facing the botanical garden side. And facing the botanical garden sides, you need to go above 27th floor as much as possible, stretch it a little bit so that you can get a lifelong pricing sustainability, because you will always be able to get a permanent greenery view if you're facing on this side. So next, of course, we haven't talked about your alternative yet. Depending on the pricing itself as the time draw closer, if the pricing for the one facing the Strathmore side gets too high, then you may actually want to consider the units that face each other, because likelihood the blocks will be in front of each other. At least you get a permanent landscape view of your own development. Then of course you go with the strategy of starting from bottom up. Of course, keep the pricing in, be very mindful about the pricing as you go up the levels, because after all it is a 40 levels development. You don't want to be like Commonwealth Towers where third floor and the 40th floor or the 30 something floor differs by about 400 to 500 PSF, which exceeds a threshold where you pay too much for a premium unit and end up making lesser profits as compared to the lower floors. So be very mindful about those. So for the inner blocks itself, likely if you are the inner block facing the botanical garden direction, meaning to say on your right peripheral view, you will be able to get a little bit of the city skyline of MBS and all. So it really depends on how they're gonna cascade the blocks. If they are gonna make it one left, one right to maximize the views, then I think the inside blocks itself may actually be very good. But if they are doing in parallel against each other, meaning to say if you are the neighbor, we'll be looking at each other, then our views will be greatly reduced. So if we are facing the botanical garden side, then likely on the right side, if we look out our peripheral vision on our right side, we're looking at the city skyline with the MBS, you can see fireworks. And if you're on the opposite side facing the Strathmore direction, then naturally, depending on how they cascade the blocks, you will be able to get like some of the Queenstown Dover side of the views, and if you look towards the left side, you get a bit of Red Hills views as well. So it really depends on how they structure the blocks and the lands and place it accordingly. If they put it parallel in front of each other, then your views will be greatly reduced. But if they cascade it against each other, they cascade a little bit left, one block put towards the left a bit, the other block put towards the right a bit, just to maximize the internal views for you, then maybe the internal ones are actually good to consider. Then of course you have the primary school on your left. So all in all, I think we all know that Queenstown being a very, very ideal environment, I think it should be quite unique. Here are some references of the floor plan based on Springleaf, which will be flashing across. Likelihood based on the unit distribution that we are looking at, this will be how, probably learning from past experience, how GoCoLand wants to play the game again, because once they drop, they have already seen that in a mass market area, people are able to accept smaller size units as long as it is livable. But the most important thing is to keep the quantum low. Then all the more as we head into an RCR area where people will compromise and sacrifice a little bit more just to be in a better location. But this time round, you can trust GoCoLand to make sure that the units are livable and functional. Then I think it will be quite a sell-out project given the quantum is in check, livability in check. With these two things in check, you will always have a exit strategy because the affordability is also kept in check. So I hope that this preliminary analysis can help you make a better decision in your property purchase. Some of you are thinking whether should you wait for Penrith or go for other current launches. Alright, do contact me as well on how to choose your units. Do not be too caught up with the hype. Definitely there are emotions at play, and of course if you ask me, this is really quite a good plot of land. Of course, there are some disadvantages to it, but if you're looking for something that's city fringe, low quantum, this is something that you should really be considering. Of course, how to choose your units, just like how I mentioned in my quick analysis of views, so on and so forth, as well as price analysis, definitely you have to be very mindful about. So if you are really afraid of falling into the trap of emotions, do contact me at 9456-9398. I will be able to cater to you and all your different scenarios, and most importantly, we should go in with clarity with all the frameworks and structures that we have in place. So if you like our analysis so far, remember to like, share and subscribe. I will always be here for you at the Essentials channel.